First story. My affair partner impregnated me and abandoned me. So I forced my husband to raise my affair son. But my affair partner came back after 10 years. So I remarried him and demanded my son accept my new husband as his father, and forced my ex to leave my son alone, going and see. Now everything is ruined. I've been sitting on this for a while. But after the most recent argument with my kids, I just need to know, am I really that out of line? I'm a mom of 3. I had twins Ella and Steven, both 23 now, with my ex-husband, Rob. My youngest, John 17, is from a different man, Harry. John was born out of an affair I had while still married to Rob. I know. I was going through a tough time in my marriage, Rob, and I had been drifting for a while, and I did something I'll regret forever. I found out I was pregnant shortly after the affair, and when I told Harry, he left. Just disappeared. No calls, no support. I was scared and ashamed. And when John was born, I let Rob believe he was his. That lie lasted until John was 3, when Rob eventually found out the truth. I still remember the look on Rob's face. He didn't yell or threaten to take the kids or anything like that. He just looked like something inside him had broken. We separated not long after that. The thing is, Rob never took any of that out on John. Even after knowing John wasn't biologically his, he still treated him like his own son. He was there at every parent-teacher meeting, every birthday party. He coached his soccer team and made him pancakes on weekends. I don't know how he managed to still show that much love, but he did. We never told the kids the truth back then. They were still so young, and I thought maybe if we kept things stable, John would grow up loved and happy without the confusion. Fast forward a few years, Harry came back into the picture when John was 10. He reached out to me and wanted to reconnect. I didn't know what to do at first. Part of me still hated him for leaving me to deal with everything. But I also remembered the version of him I'd fallen for. Over time, we started talking again, then dating, and eventually we got married. I knew it might be hard for the kids to accept him, especially since they knew Rob as their dad and Harry was a stranger. But I hoped they'd give him a chance. And they did, kind of. Ella and Steven were always polite but distant. They never really let Harry in. John was a little more open when he was younger, but it never turned into a strong bond. He was respectful, sure, but not affectionate. Harry took that personally, even if he never said it outright. We had a few moments over the years. One time when John was around 12, Harry bought him a bike and tried to teach him to ride. But John called Rob to come help him instead. Harry pretended not to care, but I saw him sitting in the garage for a long time after that. I think he always hoped that as John got older, they'd grow closer, but it never happened. Then came the breaking point. About a year ago, when John was 16, Harry asked him to go fishing, just the two of them. John turned him down and said he had plans. Harry kind of lost it, not yelling, just frustrated and hurt, and asked why they never spent time together like father and son. That's when John said something I don't think Harry was ready to hear. "Look, I don't hate you or anything, but I don't see you as my dad. So stop trying to make me see you that way. I have a dad, and he's not you." That hit me harder than I expected. I think part of me had been holding in a lot of frustration too. I just blurted it out. I told John that Harry was his real father, that he was being unfair, and that his words were hurtful to the man who was actually his blood. John just stared at me. For a few seconds, he looked like he didn't believe me. Then he started crying. I'd never seen him cry like that. He ran to his room, and I just stood there frozen. Ella followed him, and Steven looked at me like I was something he didn't recognize. He said, "I hope you're happy. You just broke that kid because you couldn't deal with your own guilt." Then he walked out. Since then, things have changed, but not in the way I hoped. John hasn't cut us off or anything. He's still here. He's still polite. But there's a distance. Not just between him and Harry, between him and me too. He talks to me, but only when necessary. I try to engage, but he keeps his answers short. Ella and Steven have both moved out, but they visit John often and talk to him all the time. With me, not so much. They're civil, but I can feel the wall between us. Harry is crushed. He tries to act like it's fine, but I know it hurts him that John won't let him in. He asks about him constantly, buys him gifts, and suggests activities, but John always has something else to do. He never says anything rude. Just shrugs it off. It's like the harder we try, the more he pulls away. The most recent thing that happened is what pushed me to post here. A few days ago, it was Harry's birthday. We didn't plan a big party, just dinner at home, the 3 of us. Harry was really looking forward to it. He even bought a game he thought John might like so they could play together after dinner. I asked John if he could be home for it, and he told me he already made plans with a friend to go see a movie. I reminded him that it was Harry's birthday and that it would mean a lot to him. John didn't argue. He just said, "I'm still going. Ground me if you want, but I'm not staying." Then he left. He came back later that night like nothing had happened. I was angry. I told him that what he did was cruel, that he could have at least stayed for dinner. He said he didn't mean to hurt anyone, but that he's being polite and respectful, and that should be enough. I told him it's not about politeness. It's about effort, about love. And then I asked him, "What was even the point of me telling you the truth if you're just going to act like this?" He paused for a second, and then he said, "Don't act like you told me the truth for my sake. You told me because you were pissed I wouldn't call your husband dad. And to be honest, I still don't. So your little plan didn't work." Then he walked off to his room. I just sat there, not sure what to do with what he'd said. I kept hearing it over and over in my head. Your little plan didn't work. Maybe he's right. Maybe it wasn't about him at all, not entirely. Maybe I thought if he accepted Harry, then everything else my mistake, the cheating, the way the family split would somehow feel less awful. Ella and Stephen found out the next day. I didn't even tell them John did. I don't know how the conversation went, but within a few hours they were both calling me. Ella told me flat out to stop forcing a bond that doesn't exist. Stephen was harsher. He said if I keep pushing, I'm going to push John all the way out the door. Then he said he's picking John up the day he turns 18, and he's not looking back. I told them I get it, John loves Rob, but I just want him to open his heart a little. I said Harry is his real father. Ella snapped and said, "No, Rob is. He's the one who showed up for every part of John's life, not Harry." She said I don't get to rewrite what being a parent means just because it's convenient now. Stephen said the same. That Rob never treated John like anything other than his own son, and that I should be thanking him, not trying to replace him. I even tried to talk to Rob. I told him maybe if he encouraged John to be open to Harry, things could improve. He said he won't get involved. That it's not his job to convince anyone of anything, and that John is old enough to decide who he wants in his life. I feel like I'm being punished for trying to fix things. I didn't tell John the truth to hurt him, but maybe I didn't tell him the right way. Still, I didn't expect him to completely shut Harry out. I keep wondering if I hadn't told him, would things have been better? But then he would have gone his whole life not knowing where he came from. Isn't the truth better than a lie, even if it hurts? I know Harry's not perfect. He left when I needed him most. But he came back. He's tried. He married me and accepted the anger from my older kids and the awkwardness in his own home just to be part of John's life. He's tried in every way I can think of. That has to count for something. John doesn't yell or act out. He just shuts down when Harry's around. That silence hits harder than any argument. He talks more with Ella and Stephen than with me, and they fully support him in this. It's like I'm the outsider now, the one who doesn't get a vote. Even in my own house. I'm not asking John to forget Rob. I'm not even asking him to call Harry Dad. I just want him to see the effort Harry's making and meet him halfway. I know I messed up. I know how I brought John into this world was wrong, and I've owned that. But he's here, and he deserves to know the full picture. At the same time, I don't want Harry to spend the rest of his life trying to build something with someone who won't ever look at him the way he wants. I don't want to give up on it, though. Maybe it's pride, or guilt, or something else. Maybe I just want to believe it's not too late. I know how this all sounds. I know I'm the one who caused the chain reaction years ago. But it's not like I planned it. I was just trying to hold my life together the best I could. Now I'm being told to back off, that I'm making things worse by pushing for something I thought was good for everyone. I feel like I'm stuck between trying to fix the past and not being allowed to talk about it at all. So I'm asking here Aita for wanting my son to love his biological father. Comments. Comment 1. Your son already clocked the situation perfectly, and that's probably what stings you the most. You didn't drop the truth for his benefit. You dropped it because you felt rejected and embarrassed that your husband wasn't being seen the way you wanted him to be seen. Teenagers are brutal about sniffing out motives, and John saw straight through it. What really jumps out is how transactionally you're treating fatherhood. Like genetics should outweigh 17 years of daily showing up. Rob didn't just help raise John, he raised him. And instead of honoring that, you circled back to the guy who ran when things got hard, married him, and now expect everyone else to emotionally realign to match your choices. Also, let's be honest. Forgiving Harry didn't cost him anything. He didn't lose his kids, his home, or his reputation when he left. You absorbed the fallout. Rob absorbed the fallout. And now John is expected to absorb it too. That's a hell of a lot to dump on a kid, and then act surprised when he resists. Comment 2. You make a mess, someone else cleans it up. And then you wonder why they don't want you redecorating. Harry didn't get robbed of a father-son bond. He walked away from it. You and he made your choices together. And now you're standing there upset the kids didn't magically rearrange their emotions to make that choice feel better. Biology didn't comfort John at night. It didn't teach him to ride a bike. It didn't show up consistently. Rob did. And yeah, your older kids aren't confused. They remember who blew their family apart and who stayed solid afterwards. The fact that the 17-year-old is the one reading the room the clearest says a lot. You're not being misunderstood. You're being seen. And that's probably the part you're struggling with most. Comment 3. John doesn't owe Harry anything. You keep focusing on biology like it trumps everything else. But it doesn't mean SHT when someone bails for a decade. Harry missed the diapers, the tantrums, the school nights, and the nightmares he wasn't there when John actually needed a dad. Rob was. Rob is the dad. Full stop. You didn't tell John the truth to empower him or bring clarity. You told him in a moment where you felt rejected on behalf of the guy you cheated with. That's not about truth. That's about lashing out. And now you're trying to wrap it in this ribbon of fixing the past. Come on. You had 16 years to plan how and when to have that conversation. Instead, it came out mid-fight because you couldn't handle hearing your son say he didn't view Harry as a father. He was right, your plan didn't work. But maybe it shouldn't have. You're pushing an image of a family that only exists in your head. Comment 4. You have been playing house with a man who dipped out when it mattered. And now you're shocked that the kid sees through it. You can't just plug Harry into the dad role like it's an open seat. He noped out when things got real. And now he's upset the kid doesn't see him as father of the year. Boo-hoo. He earned a chance to be in John's life when he walked away from you pregnant. No, he didn't. Also, Stephen and Ella calling your bluff is probably the only reason John hasn't packed a bag already. And your comment about Rob needing to step in. He already did for 17 years. He carried your mess without trying to rewrite it in his favor. Maybe you could take a note from that. Rob's not playing this emotional chess game. He did the work, kept his mouth shut, and let John grow up with love instead of drama. Meanwhile, you dropped a nuclear truth bomb on a kid mid-argument and expected it to make things better. Wild. Update. I read every comment. Even the brutal ones. I didn't reply because I needed time to process what people were saying, even if I didn't agree with most of it. A lot of people think I'm irredeemable. Maybe I am. But I still live in this house, and I still have to deal with the fallout every day. Pretending nothing is happening doesn't help anyone, especially my husband. A few comments kept circling the same idea. That I broke something, and I keep trying to force it back into place. I don't see it that way. I see a man who made a terrible mistake years ago, owned it, and has spent the last 7 years trying to be better. People mess up. What matters is learning from it. Harry did. He didn't vanish again. He didn't half commit. He stepped up in the only way he could with the time he had left. My kids refused to see that. After posting, I decided to stop guessing and actually do something. One commenter suggested therapy, so I booked a session. I didn't invite Ella or Stephen, because every time they get involved it turns into a pile-on. I didn't attend myself either. I thought it would be better if John and Harry could talk without me in the room. Maybe that was naive, but I honestly believed removing myself would help. It didn't. John went quiet the moment the therapist asked him what he wanted from Harry. He said nothing. The therapist tried reframing it, asking how he felt about Harry being part of the household. John stood up, said this wasn't what he agreed to, and left. Harry stayed, embarrassed and devastated. The therapist asked why I wasn't there, and when Harry told her I arranged it, she didn't say much, but her look said plenty. When John got home, he accused me of setting him up. I told him I was trying to help. He said helping doesn't look like dragging him into a room to make him explain feelings he never asked to work through. That conversation didn't go anywhere productive. A couple of days later, I noticed John had removed Harry from his social media. Harry came to me after dinner and asked if he'd done something wrong. He was visibly shaken. I confronted John. He said he didn't want someone in his personal life who keeps being framed as something he never agreed to. That stung. I did something stupid after that. I created a group chat with just Harry and John. I called it Just Us. I thought maybe something casual, low pressure, might help. John left it within minutes. I re-added him once. Then Stephen texted me privately and told me to stop poking him. I didn't respond. Around the same time, we had a minor scare with John at school, nothing serious. But the nurse called the emergency contact listed. It wasn't me. It wasn't Harry. It was Rob. That discovery felt like being erased in real time. I told John it made sense to update it since Harry lives with us and is legally my husband. John said no. He said Rob knows his medical history, and he trusts him. That answer didn't sit right with me at all. Things blew up when Stephen and Ella came over that weekend. I mentioned therapy. I mentioned the emergency contact. Stephen snapped. Ella jumped in. They both accused me of turning every interaction into a test John can only fail. Stephen brought up something I thought was private, that Rob helped John buy a used car. Apparently John told them everything. I said it felt like Rob was undermining Harry yet again. That's when Stephen lost patience and said I've been competing with Rob for years, instead of appreciating that he carried my mess without complaint. That argument ended with both of them telling me to stop before John leaves the moment he can. I didn't stop. Harry had written John a letter a while back and never gave it to him because he didn't want to pressure him. I read it. I'll admit that. It was emotional but vague, and I worried it came off as apologetic in a way that wouldn't show growth. I rewrote parts of it to reflect how much effort Harry has put in. I gave it to John under Harry's name. John confronted me later that night. He knew it wasn't Harry's voice. He knows his mannerisms too well. Harry found out after and was upset, not angry, just defeated. I told him I was trying to help. He didn't say much after that. The final straw came during dinner with Harry's family. I hadn't planned it as a trap, despite what it might sound like. I thought surrounding John with people who accepted him might make things feel more natural. John walked in, realized who was there, and walked straight back out. I got a message later from Stephen asking what the hell I was thinking. I was spiraling at that point. Harry had a medical appointment scheduled the following week for something unrelated. I exaggerated the seriousness of it when talking to John. I told myself it was a nudge, a reminder that time isn't infinite. John asked Harry directly. Harry told him the truth. John didn't speak to me for 2 days. Yesterday made it worse. While cleaning the garage, Harry found an old box from my first marriage. Inside was a Father's Day card John made for Rob when he was little. I don't know what possessed me, but I gave it to Harry. I said it showed what John was capable of feeling. Harry didn't take it. He left the room. Rob came over later that night because Ella and Stephen told him what was going on. He looked at me and said I need to stop using John as a way to repair choices he never made. He told me he raised that boy out of love, not ownership, and he won't push him in any direction. Now Stephen is counting down the days until John turns 18. John barely speaks to me. Harry sleeps on the couch some nights because he feels like a burden. People on Reddit called me pathetic. Maybe I am. But I don't see myself as cruel. I see myself as someone who refuses to abandon her husband the way everyone else seems willing to. Mistakes happen. People either learn or repeat them. Harry learned. My kids won't acknowledge that, and I don't know how to bridge that gap without doing something. So I'm updating because I genuinely need perspective. Am I still the arsehole for trying clumsily, desperately to help my husband have some place in his own family? Comments. Comment 1. Lady. You rewrote a letter from one grown man to another. Think about how nuts that is. And you handed it over like it was totally normal. What? Did you sign it with Harry's name too? Stamp it with a heart sticker. Every move you've made since the first post has been weirdly staged. A group chat, a fake reunion dinner, faking medical news. You're not helping, you're playing director in a drama only you think is going to have a happy ending. Everyone else already left the theater. And you keep talking about effort like it's currency. Effort means jack if it's misdirected. Nobody's saying Harry should disappear. They're saying maybe stop shoving him down a kid's throat like he's vitamins. Comment 2. I don't think you hate your son. I think you love him so much it hurts to admit he doesn't need what you're offering. But you've got to understand he had a dad. He still does. Rob didn't walk away when things got ugly. He held the damn line. You're lucky your kids don't resent you more, honestly. John is 17. He doesn't owe anyone emotional labor, especially not the guy who vanished when he was born. Being civil is already generous. You keep acting like you're being shut out of your family. But it's Harry who's being rejected. And John isn't cruel for that, he's tired. If you want to help Harry, stop putting John in front of him like bait. Harry needs to deal with the fact that maybe forgiveness is enough. Maybe that's all he gets. Comment 3. You talk about Harry learning from his mistakes. But the only one who actually lived with the fallout for years is Rob. He raised a kid that wasn't his, watched his marriage collapse, got cheated on, and still kept showing up. No lectures, no drama, just consistency. And now you're acting like he's the roadblock because he won't step in and endorse this fantasy reunion with Harry. The truth is, Rob did what Harry couldn't. And the person who should be showing him gratitude is you. Instead, you tried to have him sidelined. You faked emotional letters. You spun guilt trips. If Harry's trying to be better, great, but Rob already was. And I haven't read a single sentence from you that acknowledges what it took for him to stay involved in John's life after what happened. Comment 4. This entire update is one long list of ways you kept violating your son's trust under the excuse of fixing things. You dragged him to therapy behind his back, rewrote someone else's words, lied about Harry's health, turned a birthday into a guilt trip, and tried to erase the man who actually showed up for your kid's life. You say you're not cruel, but cruelty doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like pretending emotional manipulation is love. John doesn't want to cut you off. He's holding on by a thread. But it's fraying, and every move you make is cutting it thinner. Update. Some of you asked why I keep pushing. Others accused me of manipulating everyone, especially my son. I didn't respond then, but I'm saying it now. It's never been about manipulation. It's about trying to hold together what's left. I love my son. I love my husband. And I'm tired of everyone acting like that's something ugly. What I didn't say in my original post is that Harry can't have children. We found that out after we got married. He didn't know back then there were issues from a surgery years ago. Nothing we could have predicted. So John is the only child he'll ever have. The only shot he has at family. And whether people like it or not, any man wants to see his family grow. To have something carry on after him. You don't need to tell me what I already know. John doesn't see Harry that way. I see it every day. But I refuse to believe that's permanent. His birthday was last month. I couldn't think of anything Harry would actually want that didn't involve John. So I did something I thought might make him feel included. I created a photo album. I took old photos from John's childhood holidays, birthdays, school events, and edited Harry into a few of them. Just background presents. Nothing over the top. I didn't make him hold a baby or cut a cake. Just standing near us, part of the day. A father in the frame. Harry opened the gift and cried. He hugged me and said it was the most thoughtful thing anyone had ever done for him. It was the first time in months I saw him genuinely smile. For a moment, I believed it was going to be okay. Of course, John found out. Stephen told him. I didn't think it mattered. I wasn't giving it to John. It wasn't made for him. But once he knew, he shut down again. Completely. He hasn't been home since. Stephen came to pick up some of John's things last week. I begged him to let me talk to John. He didn't say anything. He just opened the door and let me inside. John was in the kitchen. I asked if he remembered Harry's birthday. He didn't respond. I told him about the photo book. I said it was the least I could do for a man who's carried pain for all these years alone. John looked at me like I was speaking a different language. I told him I understood. He still sees Rob as his father. I'm not blind to that, but that it's hurting Harry. I asked him if it really costs that much to show kindness to a man who's already lost everything. He said this wasn't about kindness. He said every time he tries to breathe, I show up with another emotional test. Another reminder that his choices aren't good enough, unless they include Harry. I told him I wasn't asking for much. Just some space in his life. He asked me if I ever once told Harry to take accountability. To stop sending gifts and messages like a stranger trying to buy affection. I said Harry is doing his best with what he has. John said, then let him come say that. Stop talking for him. It spiraled from there. I asked why Rob gets forgiveness when I don't. Why is it okay for his father to stay in his life after the affair, but I'm seen as toxic for staying with the man I love? John said Rob didn't use forgiveness as a way to buy love. He gave it and walked away from the parts he couldn't change. He didn't drag everyone else into his guilt. I told John I felt replaced. As a parent. As a person. I said that every day I see him post about Rob online, call him Dad, and write him birthday cards, but I don't even get a phone call. I told him I know I've failed in ways I can't fix, but I'm still his mother. And I'm still here. He said being here doesn't mean being in his head. That I lost the right to steer his life, the moment I turned his identity into a project. I told him he is important to me, that his siblings are gone, that I don't expect anything from them anymore, but I still have hope with him. That I need him to give Harry a chance so we can be a family. so Harry can feel normal again. Like he wasn't a mistake that ended before it began. That's when Stephen walked in and told me to leave. I went home that night and told Harry what happened. He didn't blame me. He said it was a good thing I tried. But I could see it, his eyes sunk in again. That slump in his shoulders. I thought maybe the issue was Rob. That John can't move forward with Harry because Rob is still too present. So I asked Harry if he'd be willing to speak with Rob. Just once. Maybe clear the air. Lay it out as two men who want what's best for the same kid. Harry said he wasn't sure it was a good idea, but I pushed. He eventually agreed. Rob met him. They sat outside a coffee shop near John's school. I watched from the car. It didn't last long. I asked Harry how it went. He said Rob didn't insult him, didn't argue, he just said, "He's not a prize. You don't get to win him." And then he walked off. Harry didn't say much after that. Since then, things have been quiet. Ella and Stephen won't return my calls. I don't blame them. I didn't expect much from them anyway. They were always closer to Rob. I raised them too, but they made their decision. I've stopped chasing them. But John, I still believe something can change. He's 18 now. Maybe that means I can't ask anything from him anymore. But I'm not going to stop hoping. Because for Harry, there is no other chance. No other child. No second path. John is the only way Harry gets to be something other than a man who disappeared and came back too late. Everyone keeps telling me I'm doing damage. That I'm making things worse. I see it differently. I'm trying to stop the damage from becoming permanent. I'm trying to give a man who missed everything at least one moment where he's not an outsider in his own house. If loving someone hard enough could change things, we wouldn't be here. But maybe showing up matters too. Even if no one thanks you for it. Comments. Comment 1. You talk about Harry's pain like it's this endless wound only John can heal. But here's the thing, Harry's pain came from his choices. He left. He stayed gone. He missed birthdays, milestones, and moments that actually make you a parent. You keep trying to patch that hole with John's presence, and when he refuses, you double down harder every time. I believe you love your husband. I even believe you love your son. But love isn't about persistence, it's about awareness. And everything you've done since the first post has been about pushing John towards a version of reality that comforts you and Harry. The photo edits, the confrontation at Stephen's, the therapy ambush, the weird father-son dinner, none of it was about what John wanted. He told you exactly how he feels, repeatedly. The only thing he's been asking is to be left alone to live his life with the people he trusts. Instead of giving him that peace, you keep sending new tests he never asked for. The sad part? Even if John gave in, it wouldn't heal Harry. You're chasing a version of family that doesn't exist, and you're burning every real bridge left trying to build it. Comment 2. I'm still stuck on how Harry's barely done anything directly. You keep describing his tears, his pain, his weight on the couch, but not once has he stepped up and talked to John like a man trying to fix things. He's letting you do all the heavy lifting. You're out here destroying your relationship with your kids, rewriting history in a photo album, begging, crying, manipulating, all for someone who won't even write his own damn letter without you editing it. That's not partnership. That's babysitting. If Harry really wanted to be a father, he would have shown up for more than just emotional reactions and secondhand guilt. And the worst part? You're torching your relationship with the one kid who still had a thread of connection to you. You say Ella and Stephen are gone, and you're not surprised. But John mattered, right? He's the last hope. So instead of listening to him, you keep trying to fix Harry's past through him. That's pressure no kid should carry. John's not the one robbing Harry of a family. Harry already did that. And you're helping him do it all over again. Comment 3. I had a stepmom like you. Kept saying she loved hard. But what it really meant was she didn't understand the word no. Every gesture was just another guilt trip wrapped in some deep speech about pain and loss. It wore me down. And that's what you're doing to your kid. He doesn't hate you. He's exhausted. Every time he tries to draw a line, you treat it like a puzzle to solve instead of something to respect. You're so focused on your husband's pain, you've steamrollered over everyone else's, including your own son's. It's wild to me that you're still writing these updates hoping for a different answer. He's not coming back to make Harry feel like a man again. That's not his job. Second story. An excuse of a husband called his entire family to my one-bedroom apartment for the holidays for 11 days. Disregarding me and my baby, they refused to stay in a hotel. My Sil was sick and made my baby sick, but my husband blamed me for being a weak woman. I lost it. We have a one-bedroom apartment with a 7-month-old. Space is already so limited. My husband's sister and her family are flying across the country to spend Christmas with us for 11 days. They insisted they stay with us instead of getting a hotel. Of course, my husband agrees to this without talking to me. When he does ask me about it, I explain how it's going to be crowded. The noise has to be kept to a minimum because of the baby. My son already has trouble sleeping, so who knows how it'll be by next month. Husband is working some days while they're here, so he insists they use my car to go and do stuff while I'm home with the kid. The problem I have the most is when I speak up. He immediately says I'm against his family, even though he's always talking crap against mine. My family haven't been over to see my son yet because they know it's going to take hotel and car rental fees. They don't insist on uprooting my entire routine for 11 days. My mom can get me discounts because she works at a hotel. But that's still not good enough for them. I just think it's rude to insist on sleeping on an air mattress that will take up half our living room. My son will not have a safe place to play. I'll have to lock myself away to pump every 3-4 hours. Our routines will be shattered. I have a feeling their kid will be loud and wake the baby. Husband said, "Don't get mad if your sister's kid breaks things. He's 5. I'm going to be mad. I'm made to feel like the owl because I have an opinion. The more I think about it, the angrier I get." Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. You should be rethinking this marriage. He's got zero consideration for you. Commenter 2. Exactly. He is showing all the classic signs of being an abuser. Isolating her. He badmouths her family and probably wouldn't even let them into the home. Cuts her out of the decision-making. Invites his family to stay with them for 11 days during Christmas. Makes everything her fault. When she objects and uses logic, she is difficult. She hates his family. Makes her question her own logic sanity. Hence her post here. Commenter 3. Wanna bet he is around his 30s at least, and she is in her early 20s. OP oof, try 40 and mid-30s. Is OP from an Indian culture? OP, nope. Commenter 4. NTA. Good grief. I would be leaving to visit my own family with the baby for 11 days. He can deal with his sister. Good luck. Commenter 5. 11 days. No, 2 days top for someone to sleep on an air mattress in your living room. This isn't about being against his family. It isn't a family matter at all. You simply cannot host in your home for 11 days in a 1-bedroom apartment, especially for 3 additional people. I would offer the car but say that they can use it on specific days, but not during the entire time. Or his sister can take your husband to work and use his car while he is at work. Who is buying all of the food and will be cooking the meals? Commenter 6. You should be rethinking this marriage. He's got zero consideration for you. Update. Where to even begin unwrapping this toll? I had brought up the issue with his family, staying a couple of times after my first post. I had to Google how to talk to a narcissist before the approach. I said how it would affect the baby and me, and how it would affect his family with me having to get up in the middle of the night, and how my son needs space for his playpen. Baby-proofing a 1-bedroom has proven more difficult than I thought. He seemed understanding. However, he wasn't budging on wanting them to stay. I just got the old, "we'll keep analyzing it." Since I can cancel my hotel reservations a day before check-in, I went ahead and booked 10 nights just to lock in cheap rates. I felt more secure having a backup in case SHT hit the fan at my house. On our way to Thanksgiving, my son keeps getting blasted by sunlight while driving. I have tried the usual sun shades on the windows. A few days ago, I got these curtains for the side windows. They hang on with magnets, so I grabbed them from my car and hung them in my husband's car, as he was the one driving us 3 hours away to his family gathering. He kept saying the blinds were blocking his blind spots, so I tied them open so he could see. But my son could also keep some shade. After it still being a problem, my husband asked for them to be removed and proceeded to tell me how I need to ask him before I just go and do stuff. That's when I lost my SHT. I brought up the visit and how he never discussed it with me prior to telling his sister they could stay. Of course, this causes him to blow up, saying he doesn't need my permission as it is his house. Over and over, I'm told to shut the F up and man up. If this was your family, and I don't want to be with a BTCHCT wife. I remain calm and reiterate that it's my home too, and it's about respect that he talks to me first. It's not about control, it's about respect. Respect for my son and our routines, comfort, and safety. He then goes on to say how I don't respect him, and I just turned this around and made it about you. Holidays are classically stressful. Look at Home Alone, where they have that huge house and it's chaos. Okay, but this isn't a movie, it's real life. If we had a guest room, I would still be annoyed. but I would be more comfortable manning up and letting them stay, as they wouldn't obscure my routines. So I ruined Thanksgiving. Husband stayed at work until he had to come home just to sleep. Didn't see his son for almost 3 days. I had to text him first. Come and have an adult conversation with me. You haven't seen your son in 3 days, to which I get, but I'm working. No SHT I meant after. And no one wants me around anyway. I'm only good for food and money. Good Lord, I didn't respond to this. Needless to say, he came home and spent time with his son. We had an adult conversation. His family staying is not changing. He said he already told them yes, and doesn't want to now tell them to get a hotel. A hotel is way too expensive, even at this discount you're talking about. It's not going to be $50. Lol. It actually was. I booked 10 nights for $518 total. I told him this, and he just rolls his eyes. His sister had texted me personally and asked if they could use my car to do one thing when my husband is working. She said they would rent a car if not. Just the fact that she asked with respect made me say yes to using it. We agreed that if I needed it, they would bring it back. My son and I will be okay. My thoughts? Continue my routines. Do what I need to do. If they can't handle it, they are free to get a hotel. I will not uproot my life for 11 days. It's not about me. It's about my son. He will be taken care of regardless of guests. My question is, should I keep the hotel? I want to have it in case my son, and I have to sleep there if people keep waking my son up. I'm going to have a huge problem, especially if we're trapped. But I also don't want to waste the money and never use it. I can't decide. For everyone saying I should get a divorce over this, that's valid. I want to give him one more chance to start discussing with me. If he can't respect that, then yeah, it's done. I'm tired of him stepping outside and having these conversations without my input. Comments. Commenter 1. A big part of the problem is that you are married to a 12-year-old in an adult's body. His lack of respect for you and the well-being of his child combined with his temper tantrums is unbelievable. You need to stand up to him, or this will be your life for the duration of your marriage. When his family sets up camp in your living room, tell them you are going to make it easier on them by going to a hotel and just visiting with them during the day. Let your husband handle F-Troops holiday bivouac. OP funny you say he acts like a 12-year-old because he had the audacity to call me an emo 12-year-old when he was the one who stayed away from his son for 3 days pouting. Commenter 2. One thing I don't think I've read is that the stress OP is going through will go through with this husband, and his family will definitely affect her milk supply, which will in turn affect the baby. If OP stays through the visit, absolutely let the baby cry and disrupt everyone's sleep, so they finally realize this isn't doable. It's insane. Does Sil even realize OP lives in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment where 3 people already live? Even if Sil and husband sleep on the air mattress in the living room, where is their 5-year-old supposed to sleep? I'm just shaking my head. OP. I've told my husband multiple times that stress affects milk supply. Drops have happened to me multiple times. Then he wonders why there's no milk in the fridge, I'm an exclusive pumper, and why his son has to drink protein shakes. He doesn't care. Commenter 3. Don't prepare for guests. Don't buy groceries. Don't cook. Take your son and go stay at the hotel or with friends or family. Let your husband host his family without you. Commenter 4. Honey. You need to take the baby and the car and go stay at the hotel for the duration of the stay. Let him host his family. Stay well away from that chaos. Don't be home. Update. Well, as you all could imagine, the 11-day ongoing visit has been crazy. The plan was to stay the nights in a hotel, but I changed my mind at the last minute for 2 reasons. I'm a stay-at-home mom and only have $3,000 to my name, and it's my apartment. I'd have to pack the entire place to be able to stay in a hotel. I figured I would try and drive them out instead. That didn't work. Day 2. Sills woke up feeling sick. I asked them politely to stay in a hotel since the baby is not vaccinated. It was a huge huff and puff. Visibly annoyed at me. WTF, husband didn't back me up. That was the first major red flag. We spent more time trying to separate the boy and my baby than anything. Newsflash, they didn't get a hotel. Baby has been limited to the playpen because there's Korean food and Lego burrowed into my carpet. They had planned a night stay at Great Wolf Lodge a year ago. I talked about not wanting to stay the night. We're only 30 minutes from the apartment. I'd rather not bring half the house. We talked about this a few times over time. Come time to go, and my husband asks if I brought the pack and play we had to drive separately. I said, no, We talked about this. Of course, he conveniently doesn't remember. I did not go back for it. We hung out for a few hours, had dinner, and the baby and I went home. My husband and I have been sleeping in the living room, so the baby can sleep in peace. He's a light sleeper compared to other babies. So with visitors, the husband insists on moving back into the room. He wakes up around 5. I try my best to wake him before the alarm goes off. I succeed only once. Now my baby has been waking around 5 am since Christmas. He used to sleep until 6:37. I worked hard to get the baby into a good sleep schedule. I can't help but blame it on the company and the alarm. Second major red flag. Not caring about my sleep and saying, "You're a mother. It's your job." I want to do more than sleep and take care of the baby. The stress of visitors has made trivial things look big. It's my son's first Christmas, and we had picked a cute stocking for him. Without telling me, they swapped it with the 5-year-olds. Now, we asked them if he needed a regular-sized stocking. They said, "No, just get small ones for decoration." Needless to say, I was more pissed than I should have been. Last night, we were eating at a pizza place and wanted to split a few different flavors. Sill's wife hates red sauce. We all got pizzas without it. Everyone got the one they wanted. When I stated my choice, it got an A. I don't want a lot of meat, even though Sill only ate 2 slices. Again, trivial in the grand scheme, but feeling pushed to the side the whole time makes trivial seem large. Pumping in the bathroom alone was bad enough until I put my foot down and just used a breastfeeding cover at the kitchen table. I always got, "What are you doing in the bathroom?" when they all knew I was pumping. I'm taking a bunch of equipment with me, not to mention asking the group if they need to use it before I go in. 6 people using one bathroom wasn't as chaotic as I imagined. However, this morning my husband was in the bathroom, and the 5-year-old had to pee. Instead of waiting, they emptied a plastic bottle and let him pee in it in my kitchen. I can't make this SHT up. This morning, my son woke at 4:45. His sleep got messed up from Christmas morning and the alarm. Just as I predicted. I had enough. I told my husband I'm through with him. He tried calling me a CT multiple times, saying he should have never had a baby with a weak woman. You never sleep when the baby sleeps. I have insomnia. I tried to wait until they left, but I just can't take it. No regard for my son or me. Oh, and my husband said he was sick the other night, yet refused to leave the bed. Now I'm sick, and I'm sure my baby was sick yesterday. I wish you wouldn't get so worked up over this. Baby will be fine. The worst anyone will get is a cold. The fact that he doesn't care if anyone gets sick is inexcusable. Both he and his sister didn't care. Baby's never been so fussy and tired as yesterday. No respect for my son is the final breaking point for me. Thanks to the amount of comments on my original post, I realized how brainwashed I've been. This is a textbook narcissist that I wasted 7 years with. I hate to spring this on someone at Christmas, no matter how bad they made me feel. But I had to say it. Now it's a matter of where we'll go. But we'll get there. Comments. Commenter 1. Document how he treats you and the way he speaks to you. Hopefully you can get full custody. OP I am. I'm also texting my sister about it in real time. Commenter 2. Call your flipping landlord. OP. Tell them that there are guests in your home and they're not on the lease, and that you need them gone. Your husband sounds horrible. I'm glad you're leaving him. Commenter 3. Hope you can kick him and his family out of your apartment. This is ridiculous. Commenter 4. I would start acting like they aren't there and stick to your normal schedule. Pump in front of them. Don't cover up. If they're sleeping in the living room, go out there when you normally would and watch TV. Who cares if they're sleeping? They obviously don't care about you and your baby, so quit caring about them and how they feel. Commenter 5. Why didn't you go to the hotel? Packing up all the stuff you need and transporting, it would have been a huge deal. But then you and your baby wouldn't be having to deal with your awful, sorry excuse for a husband. Pack your stuff up now and leave. If you can't get the hotel, call all your friends and family and find one that will take you in. And get yourself a lawyer. Document everything you can of his terrible treatment. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.